All right. Heather will be with us shortly, but I wanted to take this time out to speak to you personally in reference to the disagreements we've all had, in reference to the scoring in the Daniel Dubois versus Joyce fight. I know that what many of you wanted me to say is that Daniel Dubois wasn't winning the fight. That's what you want me to say, or wanted me to say, that Joyce, in fact, was the one winning the fight. But that's not the truth. And here on Ring IQ, we are beacons of the truth. And the truth is, Joe wasn't winning the fight. I'm sorry if that bothers you. I'm sorry if you want to have arguments about semantics, but he wasn't winning the fight. I'm sorry. Sorry. No, we're going to wait for Heather to come. I just sent her the link. And I know that a lot of you have a lot of questions y'all want to ask. So I'll try to find time to ask those questions, provided there is time, because I have questions of my own. And we'll just have fun with it. You kids play nice. Behave yourselves. Okay? But yeah, man. I don't know why I got that Elvis song stuck in my head. Return to sender. Address unknown. No such person. No such zone. I was goody JD. Was goody Warp Speed. Was goody UK Rob. Rob, I know you got questions. And we'll see about getting the answers. I know you got questions. But yeah, man, everybody was all mad at me and what do you mean Daniel Dubois was winning the fight? No, he wasn't. I hope that everybody that had all their titties in a twist over that has taken the time out, go back, watch that video, and think about how much time was wasted on semantics. Because what I said was not a matter of opinion, it was a matter of fact, and it was not based in semantics. If 2 of the 3 judges had the kid up, they had him up. What do you want me to say? That they had him down? You know what I mean? That's what they wanted me to say, right, Rob? They wanted me to say that he was down when he was up. JD, I appreciate that, bruh. Appreciate that, bruh. You know what I'm saying? They wanted me to say he was down when he wasn't down. I mean, what do you want me to say?
What do you want me to say? I cannot say that. This is not the truth.
Got a lot of questions. I agree, Fish. And I knew that going in that it was going to be a pointless argument and it was about really just nitpicking in semantics. Because if I say that at the time that the fight was stopped, this kid was winning the fight, that he was up, that's based on the judges' scorecards. That's not based on me pulling it out of my head or out of my ass. That's how the judges had it. What you want me to say? What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? Hey, what's good, Ahmed? Return to sender. Address unknown. Why is the song stuck in my head? Leave me alone. You think Dubois can bounce back from a quit, the wave attack? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Remember, Roberto Duran quit in the second fight with Sugar Ray Leonard, right? But when he moved up in weight, several fights and several years later, he gave Marvin Hagler a decent fight, didn't he? That's a matter of fact. It's a matter of history. He gave Marvin a decent fight. Doesn't have to be the end of the world. And that's why you always hear me say, when we talk about when a fighter decides that they don't want to go on, I say the same thing all the time. Like, it ain't my face getting punched. I can't say nothing. It ain't me. You know what I mean? So I ain't going to be like, oh, yeah, baby. Like, I ain't going to do none of that. It ain't me getting hit. You know what I mean? Maybe he bounces back. Maybe he doesn't. Only time will tell. That's why we watch the fights. Teofimo's my cousin, bro. No, I'm just playing. He's not my cousin. Can Danny Garcia win on Saturday? If Errol Spence Jr. opts to stay behind his jab, box, maintain distance, don't engage him, don't get into exchanges, I don't know that Danny can win that fight, short of just landed some stupid punch. I mean, I remember people commenting saying, how did Dubois know he was? Yeah. And I'm like, yo, who said that Daniel knew he was winning? That's besides the point. It's not about whether or not he was cognizant of the scorecards. That's like, really? You need me to explain that to you? All right. The otherwise perceptive boxing fans were not perceptive that time. Carlos Mendoza, what's up, mate? Drinking tonight. I dig it. You know what I mean? We're just gonna wait for Heather. I'm sure she's getting her stuff prepared. She said she wanted to go right into it. Usually I get the fighters on before I go live to just give them a briefing of what we're gonna be talking about. But Heather's from New York. She'll need that. She's like, yo, we gonna go right in. So we just gonna wait for Heather. And in the meantime, I'm gonna troll the people that wanted to argue over semantics because I hate those kinds of arguments. Those arguments are a waste of time. 12 boxing rounds coming up this Saturday, aka Mikey Garcia. Yeah, that's how I see it. That's how I see it. Is this about Eddie? Nah, I mean, a couple of people, I'm gonna ask the questions that they left for me. They wanted me to ask her questions in reference to those comments. But initially, the reason I wanted to do the interview was I saw Women's Boxing News, who did a great interview with Heather, very revealing, and I wanted to expand upon that conversation as far as, what kind of solutions we can reach that are attainable solutions, sustainable solutions here stateside, because the girls over there, they getting work. Ramla Ali just got added to the Joshua versus Pulev card. Shannon Courtenay last week, a couple of days ago, they just popped up. Yo, Shannon got a fight. She's going to fight this Friday on Billy Joe Saunders undercard. So it seems that there's a more fertile environment across the pond to grow the sport. And what do we need to do over here in America to get that kind of environment? Now, I want to talk to Heather. Heather knows the business, so she would be the ideal person to ask. Semantics arguments are circular. No, yeah, bro. Like you seen it live, man. You seen it. It was like, what are we talking about, dog? Like it was like the stuff I was getting told was like, well, what the hell is this? Like what do you guys actually? If you're in agreement that the kid was up, then what did you want me to say in the video? Because all of this stemmed from me saying that at the time that the fight was stopped, that it was waved off, he was winning. He was up on the cards. If he's up on the cards, then he's winning the fight, So, I mean, what do you want me to say, that he was down? This is crazy stuff out here, man. Boxing fans are crazy, man. Crazy bunch. Admittedly, I'm a little crazy myself, but I have a sense of humor, so. Ebo Julius asked the question in convo with Lennox. Then other people tried interjecting. Oh, yeah. But that stemmed from what I said in a video, that at the time that the fight was waived, when Daniel took a knee, there was only 2 rounds left in the fight. And based on the judges' scorecards, he was up. So it kind of looked like he could have took those 2 rounds off and perhaps coasted to a victory. That was the conversation piece. That's what it was about. And I don't know, like, my interpretation of the arguments was, it sounds like they wanted me to say that Daniel wasn't winning the fight. But if he's up on 2 of the judges' scorecards, yeah, he's winning the fight. Just like when Vitaly and Lennox fought, at the time the fight was stopped due to the cut, Vitaly was up on the cards. He was winning the fight. It's not complicated. Tried to check the video stream to see how drunk I really was, but Johnny Must taking down the video. Wait, what? See how drunk you was drunk? Oh, all right. All right. We all get drunk. I had Joyce up one round. My two friends had Dubois up. They acting like it was the craziest thing in the world that I was saying that Dubois was up. And it's not like I was talking about my own scorecard. I was literally talking about the judges' scorecard. They had him up. If they have him up by hook or by crook, as my friend Alexis Rumbero would say, he's winning the fight. It's not complicated. Nothing yet. I'm just waiting for Heather. But yeah, man. Factually, I personally did have Dubois. Yeah, Cat, don't start, Cat. Don't start because you and I both know I tell no lies. Everything I say can be fact checked by hook or by crook, by virtue of merit or because maybe you think Frank paid off the judges. One way or another, two of the three judges at the time of the stoppage had Daniel Dubois up on their cards. And what that indicates is at the time of the stoppage, he was winning the fight. Whether you agree with them or not, it still indicates the same thing. Did you see the hook Joyce had? The look? The what? I'm half blind, dog. Did you see the despite horrible cut, he kept screaming, no, no, no. Are you early? Actually, I'm early. I'm early. But I mean, what time is it now? Oh, there she is. Yo, hey, Heather. Hi, Heather.
Hi there.
All right. A lot of people are very excited that you could be here because, they got all kinds of questions, all kinds of stuff they want to address. The first set of questions I'm going to ask you on my own.
Okay.
And it pertains to some of what you said about how, here in the States, they don't even bother to build the female fighter, that they don't give her 10 fights to build her name, her marquee value, and her skill set. I wanted to ask, why do you think they don't give the women fighters here that same opportunity that they give into the guys?
So I will start by saying that it's not so much to say like they don't build women fighters up, right? Like it's not really about building females up because a lot of women, by the time they hit the big stage, they've already built themselves up. The women who get a platform are already established, whether it's through Olympic medals or personal promotion or whatever it is. Like a woman's already built herself up, so women don't really need to be built up. But the point of that conversation that I had was that women aren't treated like men.
Mm-hmm.
So in boxing, you have a blueprint for success. When a promoter notices a talent, whether it's a really good amateur or even a really good opponent, right? They know exactly how to build this person up. So it's like I said, there's a blueprint. Like, and it basically is like the male fighters will have like say 10 fights or so. Of course, you have the exception, someone like a Lomachenko who came into the pros and had a hard fight his first time. But for the most part, this is like a blanket statement. I don't want to hear 100 people on fucking Twitter pull out one name, right?
Yeah.
But a general thing is that when you have a kid come out of the Olympics, come out of like a very decorated amateur career, someone who's showing a promising future, they'll have a handful of fights on very, very small shows on the undercard. Once they prove themselves, they'll get little step-ups, right?
Yeah.
You don't have someone like Anthony Joshua in his 11th fight fighting for a world title on an undercard. You understand? Like there's a step. Women never follow that step, right? Women don't get that same blueprint. Katie Taylor became an undisputed world champion on someone's undercard when Madison Square Garden wasn't even full. So like we as women have this illusion feeling like we're so lucky because we're going to be put on cards. She was on the Anthony Joshua card at HBO. It sounds good, but when you're boxing for an undisputed world title against, I think the record, like she had like the most consecutive defenses for this girl as 42-0, and you're fighting sixth at the Garden. That's not what they do to guys. So when they say things like nobody wants to see women fight, women don't promote themselves. Actually, no, women are promoted differently than men. And that's the part that's not fair. That's why there's no return where the money comes for us. And it's masked behind the idea that nobody wants to see women fight. But I'm really tired of hearing that.
Okay. One thing, let me just get my charger because I just realized my laptop isn't charging, and I'm like,
Okay. And it's happy hour here, so.
oh, I dig it. I dig it. By all means. By all means, you know, it's that time of day. And I know you've been working hard all day and you deserve a drink. Now, I guess the counter argument, because I want this to be more of a discussion than anything else, I guess that I saw a benefit to Katie's fight being on that card because all them people that was over there, they was there to see Joshua in his U.S. debut. And it was a good advertisement for the sport because even if a lot of these people is not here for Katie's fight, they're going to end up seeing it.
You're very right. You're very right. And I'm just going to hit you with something. I'm sorry if I interrupted you.
No, it's okay.
You want to say something else?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I already have an answer.
No. Go ahead. Yeah.
I fought probably on 10 shows at the Barclays, probably 5 or 6 cards at the Garden. I was on really big shows, but I was buried in the undercard. If you fight first, second, third, none of that matters. Nobody's there yet. I don't know if you report fights live in at the
no, I haven't graduated to that yet, but I'm hoping I do.
But I say that to say this. Anybody who's in the fight game and who's fought on shows, or who's not even people who've gone to shows, who fought on shows, nobody comes until the main card starts. Do you know how many times I would sell $30,000 and $40,000 worth of tickets on a card like I fought on I fought on Porter Thurman. At the time, it was like one of the biggest fights. Like by the time the main card started, you couldn't even get your seat. I walked out to an empty stadium.
That was the Shelly Vincent fight, right? Because I remember.
No. I fought Shelly Vincent on a different undercard.
Okay.
But I fought on the Spence, and it wasn't like a big card. I think I defended like a very minor WBC title, like an international title. But the point is, being on the card isn't a gift unless you're on the main card. So you're not boxing in front of all of Anthony Joshua's fans when you fight 5th or 6th. You're fighting pretty much to your fans who are already fans of yours because of the work that you did before you got that chance. Nobody saw Katie that night. Everyone who already loved her loves her. You understand? She didn't get all of Anthony Joshua's fans. And that is my point. That is why women don't make money. It's not because women aren't good enough, aren't marketable. And then you see little things like that, like, well, Katie headlined this show and Clarissa was headlining shows. And she was on the Anthony Joshua. And how many big cards did I fight on? It doesn't, those kind of things don't count. We're not being brought up the same way men are. Therefore, we're not making the money the men are. There's no such thing as boxing and female boxing. There's not boy boxing and girl boxing. We box on the same shows. It's not track. There's not 2 different venues. It's boxing. We're on the same show. There's good boxing and bad boxing, but there's not boy boxing and girl boxing. And the people who say things like, I don't want to see women fight. Well, you know what? Fuck off. I don't know if I can say that, but it's like walking into a hospital with a broken arm and saying, I don't want a female doctor.
Well, I wanted you to say that again because every occasion, like this channel, a lot of people that come to this channel, they know that I've reported on women's fights for like 4 years now, since the channel's inception. Always get that odd fucking guy. Well, I don't want to see girls fight. For that guy, can you say that one more time?
Yeah, I mean, it's like walking into a hospital with a broken arm, saying, I don't want a female doctor. It's like calling the police because someone broke into your house and sending back the cop because she's a girl. You came to a boxing show to see boxing. Hate me because I'm not a good fighter, right? Watch my fight. How many people? I remember when I fought on the Thurman Porter card. I begged, please, my God, this is my chance. Nobody is on the main card that needs to be on the main card. They're all B-side fighters. This is my chance. Let people see me. And they wouldn't do it, right? They wouldn't do it. I might not be the best. I know I'm not the best boxer. I know I'm not the best boxer, but I've never had a boring fight.
That's
Most
true.
females don't have boring fights. Like, you have shitty female fighters, but you have great female fighters, and you have shitty male fighters, and you have great male fighters. I mean, look at the fucking undercard that we had to watch against the Tyson Jones or against Danny Jacobs the night before. Look at that fucking undercard we had to watch.
Yo, listen. The night of that fight, I was like, yo, dog, I would have took Tiara Brown
Yes.
versus Edith Matisse versus this. Like, and it's nothing against Danny Jacobs. It's nothing against Gabriel. It's nothing against those
And I'm
fighters.
not even talking about the main event. Like, obviously, Danny Jacobs needed his tune-up. That was his fight. That's how boxing works. But you could put good boxing on if you use the women, but nobody want to do that because they want to say female boxing, male. No, there's boxing. There's good boxing. There's bad boxing. And people don't understand that. So the answer to everyone saying nobody wants to see females box, fuck off. That's not an excuse anymore. That's not a thing to say that's okay anymore.
I dig it. I dig it. Now, I wanted to ask you, do you feel that perhaps in the United States they're a bit more sexist than they are over there in Europe? Because over there in Europe, you know, I keep up with a lot of the news that comes out around the world, right? And I see like, yo, in Norway, Cecilia was doing her own thing. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't nothing for her to have a pay-per-view show, headline a card, and you see what's going on with Eddie. He keeping them girls busy. All them girls got fights coming up, da 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 da. But over here, you know, you heard the news that Clarissa had to do MMA, right? And I'm like, yo, you know what? If it was different over here, she probably wouldn't even have to do that because she would be getting the kind of money that she should be getting. I remember just story that you was like, yo, it's not that many opportunities in boxing, so I'm gonna go to MMA to see what opportunities is over there. So do you feel that America is more sexist than the people over there in the UK or just Europe in general?
That's a really good question. I can't comment on the sexism aspect. I can say that I just talked a lot of shit about Eddie Hearn getting all this praise for putting the girls on when he's putting them on, but again, not paying them, right? It's almost hard to know what's worse. I've seen sexism firsthand, so much to say, like, very, very important people in boxing who've said, I like you, Heather, but I'm not going to sign a woman. Or I like you, Heather, but he couldn't be sold. I had the VP of the Barclays Center literally asking Al Heyman to sign me. And he didn't want any girls because he wasn't interested in girls. And the VP of the Barclays Center literally saying, like, we've had her for 10 fights. We don't want to let her go. You know, she sells tons of tickets. She does all this, you know, because like all the local media guys will come to see me and promote the shows. This was the VP of the Barclays Center vouching for me. And I was just like, I'm not interested in a woman. So sexism exists. Like, systemic sexism is so embedded in the sport of boxing that even women who do well, because you could say I did well, right? Like, you could say I did well. Even women who do well have no chance.
But that's my question. It's like, I look at it as like, yo, dog, it's actually not hard to. I've always looked at it like this because I treat it the way I came across those fights. They're like, yo, I took in a fight. I was like, yo, that's a good ass fight. I want to see another fight like that. I think it was Hannah Gabriels versus Xenia Castillo. And I just started looking up fights. It's like, yo, all these fights is dope. So I'm thinking like, yo, I don't understand if I'm a fan, I'm the consumer, I'm the one whose money you trying to get at. And you don't see that. Like, I'm like, yo, why doesn't Al Heyman have Heather Hardy, Alicia Baumgartner, Melissa St. Ville, Ronika? It's like, it's girls over there in New York. Like, it's mad girls. Alicia Napoleon, Ronika Jeffrey, Alicia Ashley. I'm like, yo, you could literally have like a Charlie's Angel kind of thing going on. And like, yo, you could literally sell that. And they choose not to. Like, one of the questions that one of the people have for you is like, yo, why do you think the Top Rank only has one girl, Michaela Mayer, and PBC, they don't got no girls? We could say Golden Boy has 4. Golden Boy got Franchon, they got Sulem, they got Marlene, and they got Sinicia. But it's like, yo, why Top Rank only got one girl and PBC, no girls? Like I'm going to tell you, I'd rather see you fight than Rancis Bartholomew. I don't care. They get mad at me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one thing, like, I preface all my arguments, right, like, by saying that I acknowledge that I'm not as good as a lot of these girls. Like, these are Olympic athletes. They totally deserve their spot. So for all the fucking idiots who say that I'm a hater, like, I'm super proud of these girls. I don't want anybody's spot. But the history of the fight of feminists is that we're tired of there only being one spot for us. Because what happens when there's one spot? There's one spot and women fight over it. And the person who gave us that spot says, if you don't behave, then I'm going to give your spot up. So that person who has a spot can't talk about things like unequal pay, can't talk about unfairness, feels like I have to be on my best behavior, market myself, do everything top of the line just to keep this spot. Why aren't there more spots? I mean, that's really the question when there's so much talent. And you have a guy like Eddie Hearn who is signing up tons of girls, who's looking to, put on a thing for the featherweights. I mean, like the lightweights. And I mean, yeah, it's incredible, but we're still not being treated like the guys. So for everyone who's been spinning fire at me, like, at least Eddie's giving you guys a chance. It's fucking nauseating. These girls shouldn't be thankful for a chance. They're fucking gold medalists, for Christ's sake. They earned their spot. They're overqualified and underpaid and still standing on a microphone thanking someone for their chance. Katie Taylor is a gold medalist with millions of fans, a whole country standing behind her. She is an undisputed fucking world champion who's not turned down a single opponent. Is she making over $1 million? Answer that question. Because would a man be making over $1 million? I am sick and goddamn tired of the argument that, and I could see you're like, God damn it, why did I start this with this feminist bitch?
No. It's because
I am tired of the argument that just because this woman is making more than all the other women, that she's getting paid fairly. Making more than I've ever made before doesn't mean shit to me. Offering me $20,000 because you offered the last girl $5,000 doesn't mean shit to me. She didn't deserve $5,000. I don't deserve $20,000. Katie doesn't deserve $200,000. We all fucking deserve more. And the people out there saying that we should be lucky for the chance or grateful for the opportunity, fuck off. Make the numbers. No, you're not treating me like you treat the boys. Until you treat me exactly like you treat your men, then come fucking talk to me. Because if they didn't promote Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, Lomachenko, nobody would know who they were. If they brought those guys up the same way they brought Katie up to win their world titles on the undercards before the fans were in the stadium, how would anyone know who they were? How would they be making money? They showcase their boxing so to maximize earning potential. And that is not what happens with the women. So everyone out there who wants to say that you're praising Lou DiBella and you're shitting on Eddie Hearn. No, I'm shitting on the sport of boxing. Okay? I'm shitting on the systemic fucking sexism that exists in the sport of boxing that does not let women succeed. So fuck all y'all that want to say shit.
Yeah, because you answered a lot of questions, because a lot of people, I got when I told people, yo, Heather Hardy's going to be on the show, a lot of people reacted. Some of them were excited. Some of them were pissed off because of the Eddie Hearn stuff. They was like, yo, how you going to sit there and shit on Eddie, but you going to praise Lou?
Let me tell you about Lou. You want me to tell you about Lou? I've known Lou for 10 years. When New York City shut down and boxing shut down, everybody was locked in the house. I'm a single parent. I have a 16-year-old. I had to start homeschooling. I lost my job. No fucking, I don't get like sick leave or anything. I was fucking broke. And Lou called me and said, you're not alone. If you need money, if you need food, if you need help, I'm one call away. Lou checked on me every 2 weeks during this whole pandemic to make sure I was fine. I was offered 3 fights during the pandemic, and every single one, regardless of the fact that he was going to make money off me fighting, he said, don't fucking do it. Don't fucking do it. It's not worth your money. It's not worth your time. Tough it out. If you need cash, I'll send you cash, but you're not going to go over and get used just for your record for shit money. That's why I appreciate Lou. So you know what? I didn't have any fights, but Lou was looking out for my best interest. I can't say the same for all the other girls. Maybe the other girls fucking hate him. I don't know. I don't know what their story is. I know what my story is. Lou was looking out for me. I was offered 3 fights, and they were all looking to fucking plow me with shit money because they knew that the girls in New York were broke, that the girls in New York haven't trained because the gyms were closed, and the girls in New York would be little whores and accept whatever fucking shitty purse they offered. I was offered $60,000 to fight Jelena in April, and that fight fell through. And then they offered me fucking $20,000 to do it in June. Bitch, I'm not going on a diet for $20,000. People think $20,000 is a lot of money because girls used to make $5,000 for a fight. Think about it. $20,000 is like a break even.
Yeah.
By the time I pay my corner, my gym dues, I make up for the money when I wasn't working because I had to sacrifice it for training, the travel, the expenses and equipment and fucking the fight week. I mean, just a fight uniform. I mean, the press conference outfit, the hair, the makeup, the whole fucking look for everybody. People don't understand. A $20,000 fight I break even for. I should put my life on the line for that? Because that could be a whole other conversation. So
no, yeah. I mean, I understand it. Like most people don't realize that you get if it say yo the purse was 20,000, bro, they not taking home 20,000.
Nah, forget it. By the time that's first of all, it's untaxable money. So you're looking at like 35% of that right off the bat. I gotta fucking pay when I claim my taxes.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't handing you 20 grand in cash. Second of all, my corner gets about 30%. We're left with nothing.
Yeah.
We're left with fucking nothing. And this is for a world title fight. Come on.
So I see what you meant. That I guess that because when the Eddie Hearn comments was made, right? Like a lot of people hit me up on social media. It's like, yo, did you see what Heather Hardy had to say about Eddie Hearn and da 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 da? And a lot of the questions that I had got was in reference to that. But now I kind of see what you're talking about. They're like, yo, y'all focusing on Eddie when I'm talking about all this other shit. Like that's just one guy in all this other shit. And I see what you're getting at a little bit more now. I do.
How about think about it like this? It's like praising the police commissioner for hiring women. Oh, he's giving girls a chance to be police officers. He's such a good dude. Look at how many police officers he has in his squad. And then he pays them all shit. And then he doesn't put them on the good cases. And then he sends them to the most dangerous neighborhoods, right? Like, that's what's happening here. So when I hear people clap for Eddie Hearn, I'm like, why are we still thanking him for giving women opportunities? Tasha Jonas was a fucking Olympian. And you're offering me less than $20,000 to fight an Olympian because you think that's what I'm worth? Look, you know, I understand. I lost last year. Coming off a loss, your value goes down. But I value myself more than that.
I guess, look, this is the argument. This is the counter argument to that, I guess. And it's that I guess people are looking at like, okay, Tasha, and I love Tasha, by the way. Tasha is not his fighter. So he not necessarily looking out for Tasha the way he going to look out for Terry. He not going to look.
I think he signed her.
No, he didn't.
Really?
She's MTK. Yeah, she's MTK. She's with MTK Global, but she's not with Matchroom. If she was with Matchroom, then I would say, all right. But she wasn't actually with Matchroom.
Yeah, but let me tell you something like this. I'm gonna go one step up and hit you with another piece of business of boxing that most people don't look at. He wants the rematch for Terry Harper versus Tasha, right? So it's in his best interest to bring Tasha out and get her a win after that loss, right? And the best way he can do that publicly is to put her against a very well-known fighter. Right or wrong?
No,
They reach out to me. I didn't fucking go to them. So for all these people talking about how nobody cares about you, you're irrelevant. Why does my phone keep ringing then?
No. Let's converse because I don't want you to curse me out.
No, I'm not gonna.
Right.
I'm just very heated and passionate about it. I know what the fuck I'm talking about.
No, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you. See, my understanding of their situation was that he was actually going to do all the things that you said he wanted to do. Like he was for the rematch, he wanted to make it, and they had a disagreement between them about what Tasha should get for the rematch. But they were actually gonna sign her to the promotional outfit. It was a multi-fight engagement. I believe that's the part where you came in, that they wanted to put her in there with a well-known fighter, and they tried to get you to do it. But I guess the moral of the story for me is, okay, I don't see that Katie is complaining, right? I don't see Katie complaining. I don't see Steffi and Terry complaining. I don't see Savannah and Chantel complaining. So I'm like, well, maybe what it is that he is looking out for who is his fighters, but somebody else fighters, yo, you know, it is what it is. I got to look out for my girls. Like, I'm trying to do what I can, but I got to look out for my girls. These is my girls. Terry, Chantel, Savannah, Katie, Ramla, Ellie Scottney, April Hunter. These is my girls. I'm going to do what I can for them more than I'm going to do it for somebody else. That's like the impression that I got.
That's okay. And it's a very light, like, of course you would say that. And of course the girls would feel grateful. Mm-hmm. Because we're conditioned to feel grateful when we're given an opportunity. I don't care how much he's paying Katie. Katie's not making Anthony Joshua money. I don't care how much he's paying her. I don't care if Katie made $500,000. I have no idea what she made, by the way. But it doesn't matter if Terry Harper thinks that she's making great money. It doesn't matter. But they're not making the same as the guys. And that's what the fuck I'm talking about. You can be very happy with the money and with the opportunity. You can be very happy with the upswing of the way women's boxing is going to get. But how long do you think it's going to fucking take before we make it the same money as guys if we're always happy just being on the climb up? People can say I'm an obnoxious bitch all they want. People can say I'm a hater because I don't know. She's not making the money she deserves. She's not giving the I mean, look, I was so fucking happy when she sold out. That was like 1.2 million views or something for her main event. But that was such a dice roll. Like, how do you put a bunch of girls as a card and expect people to watch them when you haven't properly shown the public how good these girls are?
I guess that the counter argument would be because, see, you're on the fighter side and the business side, right? So there's an angle of this that you don't know. For example, when I used to want to like watch a fight, female fight, right? I would have to go through the whole goddamn internet looking for links because none of the channels had them. And here in America, you see they're like, yo, PBC ain't got no girls. Top Rank got one girl, right? So if I wanted, like when Hannah Gabriels ended up fighting Oxandia Castillo for the second time, right? They had a rematch. So I wanted to see it because I wanted to see, yo, is she going to get knocked out again? I got to see the fight. So bang, I'm looking everywhere. Obviously, no channels in America picked up the fight. I had to find some random ass link on the internet. Whereas what I see he did is he's bringing you the girls and the guys as a package, which makes it easier for me to see them because now if I want to see any one of them fight, I can see them like that. Before it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. No major platform had girl fighters, good women fighters fighting on it regularly. Now on the zone, yo, you get that all the time, bro. Like Shannon Courtenay, she about to fight at the end of the week against that Polish girl. I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna see how she looks.
You are. But what about the fucking asshole who says he doesn't like women's boxing? Is he gonna watch it? No. Sure. And it's Eddie Hearn's job to make sure that motherfucker don't have a choice but to watch it. You can click on a link. You can search for a link. But if you're not put proper place, I don't care. Listen, people may think I'm stupid, but you got to understand that I've been on the inside and the outside. I like to watch fights. I can see what's going on. But I used to sit backstage at the Barclays Center. I used to sit backstage at the Garden. I know exactly what happens. The girls are not getting the spots that they deserve. And it should be, well, you know, they have this platform, or well, you know, they have this. There is every fucking excuse why women aren't making as much as men, and none of them are okay.
So I want to ask
you. It's better. What the fuck what in 2020 are we talking about? It's better. It's not fair.
That's what I wanted.
Fair.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
There was a big card last week, and there wasn't a female on the undercard. There are so many good females starving for fights. Sure, yeah. Eddie's putting his girls on. What about fucking all of us?
That's what I wanted to ask you, because from my view of it, because I try to keep up with all this fucking news, like even the Russian shit, the fucking Russian card, they had Firuza Sharapova, they had Tatiana, they had a couple of girls fighting on the same card, right? So it's like, all right, y'all doing it. Y'all got a couple of girls fighting on the card. It ain't just one girl and a bunch of guys. Y'all got a couple of girls. Cool. You look at Silent Promotions over there in, you know, all the way over there in Europe, Germany, Dusseldorf, all of that stuff. They got Katarina Tanders. They got Dina Thorslin, and they got Sophia Lee. So I'm like, all right, they keeping them busy. But when I look over here in America, what I notice is, yo, the problem ain't them. The problem is here, that they not pushing them here. If a PPC, for example, that has 2 motherfucking channels that they show fights, and you ain't got one motherfucking fighter, remember, the boxing fan in America is watching likely PPC cards because they're going to pop up on Showtime. They're going to pop up on Fox. And you ain't got no girls with like, yo, like it's mad. I could name 10, 20 girls off the top of my head. And you could sell them. I'm telling, like, you could sell them. Like, it ain't like it's hard. Yeah, you could sell them. The fight is good. The girl is marketable. There's a human interest story there that you could use as an angle to sell the fight. And I'm like, yo, and this is a dude that he has fights happening on not just one platform, but 2. And you don't got no girls. Then I look at Top Rank. I'm like, yo, they got Michaela. I love Michaela. But that's one girl, dog. That's one. So I'm like, I feel that the problem is, yo, I hate to say it, but America's more sexist than Europe. That's how it looks. Because I'm like, yo, everywhere else they doing it. In Mexico, Kenny Enrique, Yesenia Gomez, Barbie Juarez, her sister, Pequeña Lulu Juarez. Like I could go on like it's just girls all over the place, all over the motherfucking place. And it's coming. You look at Argentina, they girls been fighting on TV. Regular. Like all they girls, Bonita Bermudez, Acuna, Jessica, like mad fucking girls, man. But here, yo, it's weird if you see like a girl fighting. So I'm like, yo, to me, I feel it's not that them or them or them. It's that here in the States, I honestly believe they mad sexist because they don't want to do it. And it's mad fighters you could sign. You, Alicia Baumgartner, mad fucking girls, dog. And I'm like, yo, they ain't tough cells, dog. They not tough cells. Watch the fucking fight. You're gonna like the fight. They gonna throw punches.
So
it ain't gonna be like Bartholomew versus Easter.
The point for my argument was sexist is sexist, not more or less, right? Like the fact that the American promoters aren't promoting their women is a whole other conversation itself. My anger and my comments came from Eddie Hearn being applauded as the savior of women's boxing, and Eddie Hearn getting on an interview saying, I can only do so much. I mean, you know, I'm giving you girls the chance, but you have to promote yourself. And that's when I lost my shit. It's not that Eddie Hearn is a bad guy and Lou DiBella is a good guy. That's the way people are seeing it. I praise Lou DiBella in a very different context than I praised Eddie. My tweet to Lou came at a time when he really was bailing me out of something as a man, as a person, as not my boss and not my promoter. That's completely fucking separate. Who knows? Maybe Eddie did the same thing for all his girls, and maybe that's why they love him. You can have two completely different views on people. You understand? So me praising Lou and shitting on Eddie came in two different contexts. It's like you might love your guy friend, but he cheats on his wife, so he's gross. You know what I mean? Like you can have a good guy and a bad guy at the same time and be able to praise and also shit on them. Eddie might be great for a lot of ways, but to hear the man say, I'm giving women chances, I think we need to stop that conversation where women are grateful when you were already overqualified. Stop thanking people for letting you be a part of something you deserve to be a part of, that you're not making money for. I'm not shitting on Eddie. Eddie's a businessman. He does what he wants, but I'm going to call it exactly like it is. These girls are not getting the same treatment as men. I don't care if the girls are getting better treatment than all the other women, than American women, better than German women, better than their opponents. They're not getting the same treatment as men, and that's sexist. I don't care if Katie Taylor is making six figures. She is an undisputed world champion who is a gold fucking medalist about to be undisputed in a different weight class. She should be making more money. She's not making enough. Enough isn't enough anymore. It's not the same. And that's the conversation. Stop being fucking grateful to be in the room. We deserve to be in the room. We deserve better spots. We deserve better placement. And it's up to you to make sure we get equal pay, not us. Not fucking us. That's the point.
All right, now I wanted to ask you, what do you think in terms of what is it that they're not doing that needs to start happening?
They're not treating girls like boys. Promoters ain't treating girls like boys. Girls don't get boy spots. Let me put it to you like this. I said this on the last interview, and it's worth repeating. When I used to go to the Barclays Center, I would go from my first fight, I would have on the dais, right? You have the podium in the middle, main event on either side, co-main event, first fight on the main card, and then some like undercards that the promoters want the press to see. Lou always made sure I got a spot, whether it was a title fight, a non-title fight. I always sat at the very end. And at the end, I would walk over and say, I'd just like to thank Lou DiBella and PBC, or Lou DiBella and the Barclays Center, Lou DiBella and MSG for this opportunity to be here. I'm so grateful. Represent women's boxing. And same fucking speech every time, right? And what I noticed in my 6 years or 7 years as a pro is that the guy who sat next to me, every show, he would move until he got to the main event. And then there would be a new guy here and he would move until he got to the main event. But I fucking sat at the end. No matter how many tickets I sold, how many titles I won, how many girls I beat, No matter that I went to a different sport and came back, it didn't matter. Guys move. I didn't. And that's what happens. The guys move their seats. The guys get the bigger publicity. The guys get the bigger, closer to the spotlight, and the girls don't. You'd have the main event, and Katie would be here in the middle fighting for her undisputed world title. Yeah, we're grateful. We're thankful. We appreciate the opportunity to be on the stage. We're hopeful as fighters that our great performance is going to earn us a spot. But that's not how boxing works. You don't get a spot unless you're in the first 3 seats. And if they don't motherfucking put us in them first 3 seats, you can't say nobody wants to see us. Nobody knows how good we are. Nobody fucking knows how good we are. They treat women's boxing like it's some generic fucking sideshow. Like it's like a thing to be sold. Like, hey, check out my girls. We're fighters. We're boxers. We're better than the guys sometimes. Sure, there are shitty women's boxing. There's shitty women's boxing. There's shitty men's boxing. And we're all fucking subjected to it regularly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So until you start treating the girls like guys, I'm sorry. For every fucking triggered male out there that doesn't want to hear me say it, it is a fucking known fact in the census. Women make 82 cents to a man's dollar. Nobody fucking likes to hear it, but women make 82 cents to a man's dollar. In boxing, that number is grossly exaggerated. Fucking grossly exaggerated. It's not our fault. And, you know, I'm not boxing right now. I don't give a shit. I'll say whatever the fuck I want. But the girls who have promoters have to be grateful and have to be thankful because it's their career.
But one of the questions that I was asked, and I think that it definitely relates to this, is given your knowledge of how the business is run, especially for the girls, would you consider going into promotion so that you could do for the fighters what's not being done? Because, like I said, like my perspective is only the fan perspective, right? And I have a mild understanding of what they do. But it seems to me that everybody else is pushing it because they're starting to see what in other countries, not here, but in other countries, they're starting to see what I see. They're like, yo, dog, you do this right. A lot of fucking money can come from this. They don't
I hope so. It was 2012 before women were even allowed to box in the Olympics. So we're only seeing like the first 2 classes of female Olympians. 2020 was supposed to be the year where they opened up the amount of weight classes. In 2012 and 2016, there were only 3 weight classes. Yes, it's improving. Yes, it's getting better. But there has to be somebody to say it's not fair. Yes, it's getting better. Yes, I appreciate that. But I mean, there's like a saying, there's no freedom till we're equal. We don't have to deserve equality. If you're not treating me and putting me on the same blueprint and up the same ladder that you put every man that you promote, then you're not treating me equally and you're not giving me the opportunity to make money. People said to me that I was a piece of shit because it's abusive behavior. It's abusive behavior to tell a woman that I'm sorry, you can't have more because you haven't worked hard enough for it. These are Olympians. I'm not even talking about myself. I don't care who thinks I'm not worth $20,000. That's for me to decide. But I'm looking at really fucking talented women that should be, you know, Katie should have been the co-main event when Anthony Joshua fought.
I agree.
Everybody should have been able to see her. She should have got so many new fans.
I agree.
Just like myself, in every fight I ever had, I sold every ticket. I brought every person. I know for a fact that Tasha and Terry Harper had to sell their own tickets. Actually, let me not say no for a fact because I wasn't fucking there, but I heard from someone who's pretty accurate that they had to sell their own tickets and they have ticket quotas and all that other shit. Like, you're earning your spot. You've proven who you are. Enough of being fucking grateful. Be tired of it. Be tired that the guy with the same record is not making what you're making. He's making more.
I would say, see, you know stuff that I don't know. So I cannot contest any of what you said because you know stuff that I don't know. But what I see from the marketing angle that they use is that they're lazy. The promoters, I feel, are lazy.
Lately they are. I mean, lately they are. And I would even go as far as to say they're lazy with the guys, right? Like, I mean, I use this analogy all the time. Terrence Crawford is perhaps one of the best fighters right now. I would say that, and I don't really care what anyone says, and I don't want to fucking hear what anyone says. He's one of the best. But if he walked into a crowded mall in New York City and sat down, how many people would know who he is? He's making a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. He's like I don't even know how much money he's making. He's making a ton of money. I'm sure he can't complain. But we should know who Terrence Crawford is the same way we knew who Michael Jordan was. The same way we knew who Derek Jeter was. But boxing doesn't do that. Not even for its guys. So
that goes back, because I was thinking, like, see, I was around for, Christy Martin being on Tyson undercards. I was around for Chavez fighting on Tyson undercards, right? And I feel that boxing has regressed from those days. It's not like the days of Chavez and Macho Camacho that everybody knew about that fucking fight, dog. Everybody knew. Whereas now, even the guys, like you said, motherfucker won't know that. Like, who's Terrence Crawford? Who's Terrence Crawford? They won't fucking know.
I mean, it's the old thing, like, where the UFC became household names, right? Like, there was a time when if you won a UFC title, you would do the rounds on all the morning shows, The View. If you won a UFC title at the Garden, you'd be on Oprah. You'd be on like all them fucking talk shows. You'd be on the Jimmy Fallon show, The Tonight Show. Everyone wanted to talk to you. Boxing, where was that?
Now I'm gonna say the reason.
Lazy.
I'm gonna say the reason I think that this is because that is a big fucking conversation, right? That's a huge fucking conversation. So I'm gonna just stick to the relevant part of it to our conversation. That these promoters is fucking old. Like they think like dinosaurs, yo.
They don't know about social media. They don't know how to promote. They don't know about marketing. I mean, it's a fact. Like, the thing that bothers me is a lot of people on Twitter, on people think I'm stupid. I'm not fucking stupid. I managed my own career up until I had 15 fights. I didn't have a manager. Wow. I'm a single mother. You don't fuck with my money. I know money. I know what is happening with money. You understand? If I say something, it's like, I'm the first person to say, I'm not the best. I'm not the greatest. I'm exciting. I'm entertaining. I'm tough. I know that. Maybe I'm not worth as much money as I think I am. I know that I come off a loss. I'm not really, maybe nobody wants to see me fight. Okay, I'm okay with that. But I'm not saying this because I think it's not about me. It's about the women in this fucking sport. It's about the girls that I teach boxing to that are going to turn pro and are going to go into this fucking sport. It's all the dirty, underhanded, disgusting shit that I saw on the business end of this that shouldn't continue. And that women who are in the spotlight, because of what you said, like with Top Rank, only one woman at a time, right? I was the first lady of Brooklyn boxing, only one woman at a time. The minute I slip up and piss somebody off, I lose my spot. But that goes like that for women in every field, in every aspect, in every business. And, all the fucking dudes are going to get triggered by me saying that because so many dudes.
You should look, when I fucking said and it wasn't even that long ago. It's like, 3 hours? I was like, yo, have Hardy gonna come on the show. The fucking Twitter starts blowing up. Well, ask her about this shit and why she said that shit and what the fuck. I got a whole fucking thing of questions I haven't even read yet.
Because you know what it is? Guys like you to look pretty and be quiet. And the minute that a woman opens up her mouth and challenges the status quo, all of a sudden she's complicated, she's difficult, she's a nuisance, she's irrelevant. They call you all the names they can call you. But that's like, I'm going to say something very controversial, but that's the nature of oppression. For people, the minute that you open your mouth, for them to make you feel weak and small and stupid and shut up. But I don't care. I'm tougher than every fucking guy that's ever commented on one of my Twitter posts. And I can almost guarantee that none of them would say that shit to my face.
I guess my thing is, we talk about, I'm a very positive person, right? So I don't like to spend a lot of time on the problems, because if you spend a lot of time on the problems, you're never going to fucking fix the fucking problem. The problem is there's no push in America. There's no push. So I'm thinking, like, instead of always worrying about the problems, what is the solution? How can you solve? They're like, why is there no push? Now, the way I look at it is, okay, well, these promoters need to know that there's actually a market to see these fights, because that's the problem. They think nobody want to see it. That's what they think. They only want to cater to markets that are already there. That, well, we already know they like to see guys boxing.
That's not true. That's not true.
Really?
That's not true. They know. It's not, oh, they think nobody wants to see it. They know that they've cornered a market where girls like me and Katie and Terry and Tasha, Michaela, we have our own market. We're making it easy for them to make money because we have marketed ourselves. We are bringing them our fans, and they are paying us so little for that spot. It's a no-brainer. It's easy money, right? You put a girl on the card who's going to sell 30 grand worth of tickets, and the venue costs you 40 grand to rent.
Yeah. So it's a swindle.
And then you can turn around and say, well, nobody wants to see you fight. Why is that okay in boxing, but not okay in every other avenue? People like to say, oh, the WNBA. No. We fight on the same shows as the boys. The same revenue that you have to distribute within that show, we fight on it. We contribute to it by selling our tickets. It's not girl boxing and boy boxing. It's not basketball. It's not softball and baseball.
Now I see what you meant. Now I see what you meant.
So the nobody wants to see, it just sounds good. Because in 2006, when there were poor ratings for the Chrissy Martin cards, they're still using that. We've surpassed that. We're not talking about not wanting female cops or female teachers or female doctors anymore. We're not talking about that because it's not acceptable. Why is it acceptable in boxing?
I think, honestly, I chalk it up to laziness from the promoters and laziness, I'm going to say laziness from the promoters, right? Because a part of it is also, okay, if you're a promoter, right, it's in the motherfucking name. You're supposed to promote.
It's not laziness, it's greed.
It's greed. I think it's greed, but I also
think all they have to do is put qualified females in the spot that the males are in. They replace unqualified males with qualified females, and all of a sudden you have equality.
I'm going to say this is why I chalk it up to laziness. They don't want to do the work to build the star. It's easier for them. It's easier for them to, I'm going to just do this shit with the guy, da-da-da-da-da-da. With the girl, you got to put in a little bit more work, but it's going to be a return if you put in the work. But they don't put it in. It's good fucking, I'm telling you, it's fucking good fighters out there. I seen them. And like nothing against Daniel Jacobs, God bless him, and Gabriel Rosado, God bless him too. But I'm saying that for that card, you can't tell me you couldn't have got like, all right, get Melissa St. Ville and Edith Matisse and let them duke it out. I guarantee you the people gonna like the fucking fight you, but you got to put it on. If you don't put it on, then it ain't gonna happen. And that's the shit that to me is laziness. It's laziness from the promoters, and the networks to me are afraid to invest because ultimately the budget comes from the network, from the Fox, from the Showtime, from whatever the platform is. You give the promoter a budget, we gonna put on your shit, whatever. All right. So why don't the network just see about growing that part of the sport? Because it's like us, like you said, it's 20, dog. It ain't motherfucking. It ain't the 80s. It ain't the 60s, and they still like scared. For me, it's like they're afraid to invest because they don't have.
They don't have to invest. They just have to give women prime spots. They have to give women prime spots the same way they do their men. If you have a man and you want him to make money, you put him in the prime spot when he's ready. You have a woman and you want her to make money, maybe you make her the main event on a little show, or you put her on the undercard of a big show. I have yet to see a female get a prime spot. I've seen females as a main event, right? During the week on a Thursday, on a card where there aren't big, heavy men. And I mean, I'm not saying this to be insulting. I'm saying this to be honest. When there should be females in the co-main events on heavily televised shows because they deserve it a lot more than some of the guys. Half the time, the co-main event and the first card on the main card is just a B-side fighter looking to get a win so that they can be built up for the promoter's next main event. And girls get overlooked. And, it's our time. We deserve it. Even if I don't deserve it, there are a lot of other girls who deserve more than they've ever gotten.
No, but you deserve it too. the shit is, and this is why I keep coming back to this motherfucking country, is because everything you just said, right? If I look south of the border, when Bobby Juarez lost her belt to La Cobrita, to Yulihan Luna, I'm pretty sure that was the main event. They gave her, like, yo, she sell tickets, people know her, people like her. That's the main event. Where it's here that I'm seeing it like, yo, this is what is not going on right here. So the question is, why the fuck is everywhere else in the world, they good? They'll do it. They'll do it in Europe. They'll do it in South America, Central America. They'll do the motherfucking shit in other parts of the world. But right here in the US of A, they won't do it. In 2020. Like, I don't know, man. It's a motherfucker. You want to answer some questions?
Sure.
All right. And I got a lot of angry fucking people. There's a lot of angry. So get ready. Because they had all types of fun shit to ask. Right. One that I found was real interesting. Steffi Bull, he trains Terry Harper. He asked, I'm curious to know what would be classed as a fair purse to challenge for a world title considering the current climate. Heather has been great for women's boxing. Would be nice to see her back out sooner than later. So I guess his question is, what's a number that you consider fair for a title fight?
Oh, that's so sweet that you would shout me out, Steffi. I really respect. First of all, I have to take a minute. I really respect what you and Terry have done for the sport. You guys really are on the climb, really focused. I mean, Terry has evolved into a really, really impressive fighter. I was offered a fight with Terry in February, and there was a little bit of Twitter talk. I thought it was super exciting, and I was over $20,000 for it. And it's like I said before, I mean, $20,000 at this point in my career is almost like a break even, which doesn't sound like that. But when you consider 30% of it is going to go to my corner, 30 to 35% goes to my corner. Now we go from 20,000 to about 13,000. I'm looking at 4,000 to 5,000 right off the bat in taxes. That's going down to 8,000. And when I sacrifice the amount of work that I'm going to have to sacrifice just to train for this fight, you know, what am I down to? About $4,000. So as a fighter who knows what it means to sacrifice my body, my brain, my time away from my daughter, my time away from my life, is $4,000 worth it to fight for a world title in someone's backyard when A, I'm not a knockout puncher, and B, I'd have to do everything but fucking tap dance on Eddie Hearn's grandmother's grave to get the win. I mean, is $4,000 worth it? So what's a number that's worth it to me? I mean, I won't get out of bed anymore for less than 50 grand. And I'll be honest, like maybe promoters won't see me worth it, and I've already wrapped my mind around the fact that maybe it's time to hang them up. And I say that because I've had over 25 professional fights in 2 different sports. I've had over 60 stitches in my face. I have seen very close personal friends of mine walk into the ring and be carried out on a stretcher and never walk again. Walk into the ring and never make it home to see their family. So at this stage of my life, with the amount of abuse that my body has taken, that my brain has taken, a $4,000 walk away. I mean, and honestly, what's $4,000 by the time I pay my uniform and invest in things like fight week makeup and hair and all the things that need to go into traveling? How much am I really making to put my life on the line?
No, yeah. I mean, $4,000 ain't shit, dog. Like that ain't. I mean, if that's
so when people hear 20,000, I'm like, wow, that's a good payday. It's not. Like it's really not. So, I mean, when I heard the Terry Harper fight, I was hoping for 6 figures, knowing that it was Eddie's girl, knowing he wanted me to go over there, and I was like, I'll start negotiating from 60, and then he comes back with 20. It was like, what? Like, get the fuck out of here. I'm not even going to that. And then they did the same thing to me with Tasha. So, you know what? Maybe you're going to say you're crazy, Heather. You lost your last fight. You're not worth that. But I'm also 38 and wise, and I can weigh out my options. And if boxing doesn't have for me what I know I deserve or what I feel like it's worth my time, then I'm not going to do it.
So I want to ask you, moving forward, Heather Hardy don't get in the ring for less than 6 figures, correct?
I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there could be an attractive offer made to me, but to go in someone's backyard and fight for a world title when I haven't been active for a year for $20,000, that doesn't make sense. Like
I
it's
dig
like
it.
it's like saying Heather Hardy will never, like there's no such thing as a will never. It might make sense, but to fight Terry Harper for 20 grand, like not even kind of, literally in Matchroom's backyard. Does that make sense? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't
I
make
guess
sense.
I see where I see where you coming from. Like I dig it. It's just that I try to look at everybody's shit and be like, yo, I'm glad that they was able to put that little makeshift venue together because if
Yeah,
think
it was great. It was great, but it didn't make sense for me, and I wasn't.
I dig it. I dig it. So that takes care of Steffi's question. Julian Goldborn, I don't know if this is a question or a statement. He wrote a whole paragraph. He said, I think she needs to make an appeal to all the broadcasters and promoters to raise the purse standards of female fighters. Promote them one collectively and add 3-minute rounds, which would give more action in female fights. Boxing is a brutal sport, but people like knockouts. How do you feel about that? Do you
So
agree with that?
that's a really good point. I'm glad you asked me that. They don't let female fights go 3-minute rounds, and there's a lot of controversy as to why. The BC published a study and said that women are more prone to concussion, so the longer rounds are more detrimental to them. I think that's kind of bullshit because I personally fought 5-minute rounds in MMA, just like the guys. I have also fought personally on shows at the Barclays Center where they didn't want to give me time. So I would have title fights that should have been 10 rounds, but they could only allocate like 31 minutes in and out. So they'd have to cut it down to 7 rounds just so the time was right. So it's really controversial as to why not we aren't fighting 3-minute rounds, but it has nothing to do with the women. So a lot of times when people will say, well, you fight less time, what a way for the system to hold women down than to not let us have something and blame that on why we're not making enough money.
Mm, mm. I dig it. I dig it. I always my contention is give them 3 minutes, but give them more money because that's more work. If right now it's 2 minutes, right? Right now it's 2 minutes.
But let's also say that boxers don't get paid by the minute.
That's
They
true
get paid by
too.
the fight. So you
But
walk in the ring, you knock them out in a second, it's over.
but you know why I say give them more money for more minutes because it is more work. If this is what you paying, right? This is what you paying at 2 minutes around, right? All right. So if you want 3 rounds, I cough up more bread.
No, I mean, that makes sense too, but whether we're fighting for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, the training doesn't change. And the training is really what constitutes the fight.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're sacrificing. That's what we're doing. So for all the arguments about 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and that's why we're not making the money, and that's why we shouldn't. If we fight 3 minutes, we should make more. We should just make what the guys are making. And that's really what it comes down to, based on merit.
All right. All right. All right. This is a guy who you're probably gonna curse out after I read this. He says she's gonna moan about Eddie not making her famous in America while he is in England. I'm
not looking for anyone to make me famous. I'm not. I didn't even complain about Eddie about myself, right? Like my thing with Eddie is not representative of him as a boxing promoter, just representative of him as a man claiming to be saving the women's species when he's not promoting his women as equally as he is his man, as his man. So my beef with Eddie is not. It's people like to say like, oh, she's a hater. I work 12 hours a day to support my 16-year-old kid. I don't give a fuck what Eddie's doing. I don't give a fuck. Like if I hear somebody says, and it make me feel a type of way, I'm going to say it. Eddie's going to claim to be like the savior of women's boxing, and he's not treating them like his boys. That ain't right. Nobody, nowhere, no how can fucking tell me I'm wrong. Oh, but he's giving Katie this. Oh, but he's giving the girls this. Oh, but he signed so many this. Oh, but he's the only one doing this. I don't give a fuck. If you ain't treating them girls like the boys, then you ain't right by me. Then just shut the fuck up and treat them like shit anyway. And don't be coming out saying that you're better than everybody else, because you ain't.
All right. Jimbo Brown asks, Ask her if she would support or take exception to female YouTubers with big followings participating in boxing events like what we saw this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, look, like that is an exception, right? Like, I think it was a fucking shit show, but it brought a bunch of eyes to boxing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I tweeted something like, "Who the fuck is Jake Paul?" Not because I cared that he was boxing, because I didn't know who he was. I'm over 20 years old. I have no idea who he is. And people were like, "You're just a hater." No, dick, I don't know who he is. I don't care. If it doesn't affect my paycheck, why the fuck would I care what he's doing? Do whatever you want. Shit, I'd love to fight some celebrity for some fucking money. Give me some bitch like Tommy Loren. I'll fight you for fucking money.
All right. It's this person asked, as a boxing to mixed martial arts transitionee, what do you think of Clarissa Shields' decision to sign a PFL?
I mean, nobody is as good as Clarissa. Nobody has a resume like her, is as decorated as her. So if I could do it, she gonna kill it.
All right. I'm trying to ask the constructive questions and not the just like the shit that's like, all right, dog, that's not a question, bro. Like, all right, I asked that. All right, we done with those. So I guess because I was my goal here was to see, okay, what are the solutions that we can use his stateside to make it more even, make it more equal, right?
Well, I think that it's really hard to say. If I had a solution, I would have come up with it when I was in the spotlight in the middle of my career. I did everything I could. Every time I had a microphone, I talked about it. I would beg for better placement. I would beg for things, and I didn't get it. And now that I'm not in the spotlight, and I don't want to say I'm not relevant, because I'm one fight away from being relevant, but I came off 2 losses in 2019. So it's not like all the cameras are on me. So the best I can do is speak my piece, talk my experience. What can everyone else do? If I had the answers to that question, I would have solved this problem when I was peak career, hopefully making some money for myself. I mean, the only thing is, like, it's like every other institution, is that the power comes in the suits, in the guys who have the money. And if we can't compel them to make changes, then they won't. And if you have these guys in the suits thinking that just because they're giving us a chance and enough and more than we ever had, then we're actually stuck in the same fucking cycle that women have been in.
That's all right, because I'm gonna come up with a solution in 2021. I'll figure it out.
All right, you call me because I want to hear it first.
I know what has, like, I have an idea what has to happen.
Well, people like you really make a difference, just being out here and talking about it and educating fans. And I always have been such a big promoter of starting the conversation and having the conversation. And regardless of my tweet about Eddie Hearn and all of the bad press I got, there was a lot of good stuff that came back too. And I've kind of learned that yeah, it's hard, because people look at me like I'm some famous female boxer, but I'm really just somebody's mom, somebody's daughter, somebody's sister, somebody's best friend. So when people say things like that, it's hurtful. And when people say things like that, coming from an uneducated place, amateur boxers who think that they can talk about with experience what it looks like behind closed doors, man, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Sit down, shut up, and let your elders take care of you. I said what I said.
Now, for those who are just tuning in, she wasn't telling me to shut the fuck up. Because somebody come in like, yo, she told Ring to shut the fuck up.
What she got on him?
Yeah. Anyway, yo, look, it was a pleasure talking to you. I hope to have you back some other time. And we'll talk shit about a lot of people and a lot of shit. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.